My heart is in.
Alright, what's up YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Let's talk Lara and Andrade. They should fight. I don't see why they aren't fighting. You know, at this point, they seem to be the most feared boxers at 154. You know, two of the most feared boxers in boxing today. No one wants to fight these guys. Okay, neither one of them. And you know, Lara's a WBA champ. We know Floyd Mayweather is a true WBA champ, but he's not fighting anyone at 154. And then you have Andrade, who is the WBO champ. And no one really wants to fight him. You know, Lara is calling everybody in the world out, and so is Andrade. Andrade didn't fight Jermell Charlo. I thought that was a big mistake on his part. You know, he didn't want to take the fight at the time. Then he wanted the fight earlier this year, and Charlo skipped him and went and fought Marta Rojan. Now, you know, I feel like these guys have some bad blood. They fought in the amateurs. Andrade was a lot younger. Lara beats him in the amateurs. Andrade has been calling Lara out. Lara's like, I'll take the fight. You know, I'll school you again if you want me to. I mean, why not fight each other at this point? You know, we have Canelo. We know Canelo is at the top of the charts at 154, okay? It's questionable whether or not he beat Lara and Trout, but he beat them. You know, he got the win. Whatever way you want to look at it. This video is not really about that. These two are the other two top fighters at junior middleweight. And there's no reason why they shouldn't be fighting each other at this point. You know, it just, everybody knows that these two are the best in the division, and they should fight each other at this point. What are we waiting for? Andrade has been very, very inactive. Okay, since he won the title, he's only had one defense in 2014 against a guy that no one really wanted to see him fight. He's not fighting none of the top 10 guys, and they don't want to fight him. K9 won the title against Carlos Molina, the worst Carlos Molina I've ever seen. Okay, he had a long break, and, you know, he was dealing with his legal issues and everything. K9 comes and beats him, and it seems like everybody went and jumped to fight K9. You know, Tim Bradley, Miguel Cotto, all the other fighters. You know, Jamal has been calling out K9 Bunrich. It seems like everybody wants to fight everyone but these two in the division. So why not let the fight happen at this point? Lara, you know, guys like Lara and Andrade are like how Triple G was a year or two ago. You know, where no one wants to fight these guys. No one will fight them unless it was a mandatory and they were kind of forced into it. Now it's a little different for Triple G because he has some exposure, and a lot of guys they think the risk is worth it, you know, to be the first to beat him. You know, it's a good payday now, you know. These guys, they're still really, you know, they're feared, and a lot of people just don't feel they're worth it, even though they have a title. I think Andrade needs to realize that more than anyone, okay? Andrade should be doing what Triple G was doing, just staying active and beating everyone up, you know? I don't know who would have won between Jermell and Andrade, but most people thought that Andrade had the fight, you know? Most people. I think Andrade would have won the fight. But, you know, he turned that fight down. I thought that was a really, really important fight, you know. I'm not going to get into the whole thing with 160 with Peter Quillen and what's this guy he was supposed to fight at middleweight. I'm not going to get into that because I spoke on that in other videos. But Andrade has to do something, man. And you know, he has this whole thing, like I said before. You know, he won the title, and he's just sitting back waiting for people to step up to challenge him. And it's not going to happen. He doesn't the culture in boxing today is people, or if you have a title, people are going to try to get in the ring with the easiest champion. And in my opinion, and this is no disrespect to K9, but people want to fight him over Andrade and Lara. It's just the reality. It's no disrespect because Andrade is a very good fighter, and so is Lara. But people want to jump in the ring with K9. Miguel Cotto is not making Demetrius Andrade one of his options. All right? And all these fighters, they don't want to fight Andrade. This is why it's up to Andrade to stay active, especially because he's so young. This is the time of your career where you should just be fighting on a regular basis, okay? You're not in your 30s. You're young. You're in the mid-20s or whatever. You should be taking fights left and right, okay? Even if it's not a top 10 guy, let it be a top 15 guy. Let it be a top 20 guy. If you have to, just stay active like Triple G was doing, he should just stay active. Fight 3-4 times a year. And Lara, I feel like he's reaching, he's getting up there. He's getting close to his mid-30s. Him and Rigondeaux, these guys that started their professional career so late, they should be staying active, And I'm not really too mad at Lara because he did fight Ishii Smith. He finally got the fight with Canelo. He has been fighting top guys in the division very, very early in his career. Like, by the time he was, on his 15th win, he was already fighting guys like, Ronald Hearns and Paul Williams and Carlos Molina. He was still in the teens fighting top guys, Angulo, all of these guys. Whereas Andrade hasn't really fought anyone except for Vanes Martirosyan, which was a very good fight. I mean, Freddie Hernandez is a good fighter on ESPN. A lot of people fought him on ESPN. But I'm talking about the next stage. He hasn't fought anyone but Vanes Martirosyan. He beat Martirosyan the most impressive. He looked the most impressive against him than Jermell Charlo did, and all of these other guys that fought him, and Lara. But he has to stay active. I don't know what's going on. I think Andrade needs to just stay active. If you can't get the fight you want, put the name out there, give it a week. These guys don't respond. Set up another date. You're not the Floyd Mayweathers, you're not the Manny Pacquiao's where, you're just going to have 1 or 2 major fights a year. You're young, you should stay active. Right now, just beat everybody up. If you have to turn it down, the levels of competition down, even pick up a name like a Carlos Molina. We know he's coming off of a loss, but just shop around, call everybody out. Set it up, send contracts out, do whatever you have to do. Find an opponent. You're going so young, you're so long without fighting anyone. It's bad, especially when you're so young in your career. So, these guys should fight each other. Let's see who's the best at 154. Let's see who's if you're going to take Canelo and Floyd Mayweather away, let's see who else is the best at this point. Is it Andrade? Is it Lara? Is it the Charlo twins? Lara's not going to fight either one of them. Let's see who else is up there. Who's going to be the next fighter? Canelo's not going to fight you, Andrade. He's not going to fight you because you're not active, okay? You're not active. He's already beaten 2 other guys that fight similar to you. And they're more recognized than you. You know what I'm saying? So why are you just sitting around waiting for a big fight? Like a Cotto. I'm calling out Cotto. What is calling out Cotto going to do for you? Cotto is looking to see who he wants to fight. He'll give you a call. He's not going to fight the best guy or arguably the best guy in the 154 division. He's not even a real true fighter at 160. Cotto's all about the money. He's not trying to fight the toughest opponent. He's not. That's just the reality. Not at this point in his career. So, I don't know what's up with Andrade, but let's talk about the fight. If they were to fight, it's definitely a 50-50 fight. I think Lara would have to be more active in this fight because Andrade lets his hands go. Okay. He has a lot of pop too. I think they're maybe around equal as far as power is concerned. Um, but unlike Austin Trout, okay, Andrade has length. Okay, he has volume. So if Lara was to fight Andrade, he won't have all the time in the world to sit there and throw punches. Okay, where because Trout is sitting there thinking, Lara's thinking. We saw that fight. Is just that Lara is just the more advanced fighter between the two. What you don't want to do is give Lara all the time that he needs because he can wait all day. Andrade is more volume naturally, whereas Trout was forced at some point to pick up the pace, and he had to fight a fight that he's not used to doing. And that's why he was dominated, pretty much nearly shut out in that fight, and he got dropped later on. Whereas Andrade, because we're talking southpaws right now, this is the only reason why I brought up Trout. Andrade is a guy with length, with power, with speed, with good defense. Okay, the only issue I have with Andrade is with his stance. He has a wide stance as well, just like Lara's. A lot of similarities, but he doesn't have the balance as as Lara, but he has the volume. He throws a combination. There's not no questionable wins with Andrade because he lets his hands go. He beat up Vanes Martirosyan for 12 rounds. He literally beat him. He didn't drop him, but he beat him up for 12 rounds. Whereas Lara was winning. He was schooling Vanes Martirosyan, but the judges don't really like Lara's style. This is why he has draws and he got robberies in his record. Okay, so anyway, it's a very good fight. If I had to pick a winner, I would pick Lara, but it's hard to pick Lara. I would pick Lara, but the judges see something different from what I see. Obviously, this is why he lost to Paul Williams. This is why he lost to Canelo. This is why he has 2 draws on his record. Okay, Vanes Martirosyan fight too. I think these are wins for Lara. Only fight I think Lara lost was the Carlos Molina. If you haven't seen that fight, check it out. I thought Lara lost that fight 6 rounds to 4. Okay, but outside of that, I think Lara won every fight. Andrade lets his hands go, and this is probably the reason why no one wants to fight this kid. No one at 154, whether he holds a belt or not. Everybody's going to the other guys that have titles. Obviously they would want to fight Floyd. Obviously they would want to fight Canelo because these guys are either bringing money, they're bringing pay-per-views, and they're not as dangerous. And if they are dangerous, at least they're getting more money. Whereas guys like Lara and Andrade, they're like, what's the point? So, which is a bad excuse, but anyway. So that's my thoughts. I hope these guys fight soon at this point. They're going to have to because no one else is going to fight them at this point. And we'll see what happens from here because especially with Andrade needs to get back in the ring soon, man. He's been very, very inactive for the last couple years. All right, and now he's pretty much down to 1 fight a year, if that. All right, so anyway, let me know what you guys think and make sure you hit subscribe.